Hi everybody, this is Professor West. Welcome back. In the last section we were using Excel and we were creating our own formulas. So formulas were used to add. In this case, we added these together, figured out the tax rate and then the total sales. In this section, we're going to do functions. A function is like a formula that's already been written for you. They're usually a lot more complex and would take you a lot more time, a lot more effort, and have a lot higher chance of messing something up. So, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and click on the Formulas tab right up here at the top. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of functions that you can use. So let me just point to the financial one. They have them grouped here. Let me point to the financial function. And there's some that you could use to calculate what your car payment would be or your house payment. There's some that would let you calculate what your yield would be on your bonds and stocks. There's all sorts of different ones here. And I mean, you would just have to figure out which one you want to use. But basically how they work is they would tell you, okay, I need this information, and you would say, okay, well, use this number, and this number, and it would calculate it for you. So if you were trying to figure out your car payment, you would just tell it how many, how much the principal amount was, and how much the tax is, and how many payments it's going to be, and it would calculate it all for you. So it's really powerful. Let's jump in and play around with this a little. I'm going to delete these two formulas that we wrote, and then I'm going to come over and highlight this row and right click and tell it to insert, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to write subtotal. Whenever you get a receipt, like if you go to the grocery store, the receipt always adds everything up and tells you the subtotal, then it calculates the tax, and then it tells you the total. So that's what we're going to do right here. First thing you want to do when you're going to use a function is click where you want the answer to be. I want the answer to be here, so that's where I clicked. So now come over here to where it says auto sum, and let's go ahead and click this little drop down. See this little arrow that points down? These are some of the more popular choices. You have sum, average, max, min. Go ahead and click on sum, and it tells you, it assumes that you're wanting to sum these together, which means add them together, and it tells you that it's going to start with E4 and go through E7. If for some reason you didn't want E4 on there, you could come right up here and just drag it down a little so that it would start with E5. Sometimes if you have a big long list of numbers, you might have one that's missing one, and it'll try to stop there. So in that case, you could just grab it and drag it right on through whatever numbers you need. Let me talk a little bit about some of these others. If you come back to AutoSum, sum means that you add it together. Average means that you divide by how many there are. So for example, in this case, if I told it to do the average, it would add these together, which is 459.48, and then it would divide that by 4. So if I told it to get the average of these 4 boxes, it would be $100 and almost $15. Let's do that real quick. You don't have to have them connected, like I put the subtotal right underneath it. I don't have to do that. I also don't have to write that I'm making the average, but I'm gonna, just because I want to. It helps me remember, and it's a good idea. So I'm gonna say average, and right now it doesn't understand what I'm trying to average. So I'm just gonna tell it, nope. I just clicked and drug it down. That's all I did. So it's gonna be the average of these. What did I say? Almost $115? It's $114.87. So all I did was, once I told it the average, I just highlighted the ones that I wanted to be part of the average. And there's min and max. That just tells it to figure out what the maximum one is on the row, the highest one, the biggest number. And the min tells it to do the same with the smallest. So if I told it to figure out the max on that row out of these four, it would come up with this one. If I told it to tell me the min, it would come up with that one. And they work the exact same way. I'm just going to come right here and I'm going to put max. And I'm going to put min. And I'll walk you through them. So max, let's go over here and tell it max. And it says, okay, what are we doing? I'm going to highlight these four. E4 through E7. And I was right. That's the biggest one. You could also type this in. Since I know the name of the function is max, I could literally say equals min, because I want the min. And when I do that, it brings up the formulas that's close. So if I'm at least close, I can figure it out. And it tells me this one returns the smallest number in a set of values. And now it wants to know where. So I can either highlight these E4 through E7 just like I've been doing, or I could say E4 colon E7. And see how it highlights it for me? And I told you that it would tell me that was the smallest one. There it is. That's all there is to using these functions. And the more you play around with them, the easier they'll get. There's an awful lot of uses for them. If you come over to date and time, I could tell it I need the date, I need the different stuff, is week num, returns ISO, week number in the year for a given date. All these different ones, there's lots of them here. Network days, if I wanted to calculate, like if I was doing shipping and I got an order on the 10th and it went out on the 12th, it would calculate it up and go, okay, well that's 2 days or 3 days or however it's want to do it if it counts that day. There's a lot more than what's showing here. Even these are all just the more common ones. There's a whole lot more. But this is the basics of a function. So I will stop there and I will see everybody later. See you in class. Bye.